What's going on, guys? This is Miasin and welcome to what I want to say might be the best OCG metagame breakdown I've seen in a while, because it's a huge compilation of 312 top performing decks from 46 tournaments during the span of around 3 weeks in just about every country in the OCG, so Japan, China, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand, South Korea, and Vietnam. So in other words, it's going to be huge and it's also a really accurate, sample size. But before we get into this video, friendly reminder to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys, and now let's get right into it. Alrighty, so first things first, we got Tier Elements, which is still the best deck. I wonder why. So Ishizu Tier Elements, of course, being the most popular build. And then we've got some people playing some Kashtira cards, but not that many. And then Shadal, which is also not really popular, which is funny because at first it was actually the most popular build. So it's always the same thing. Every single time there's like a new ban list and like a new format, everybody always tries to be super creative. And then when we're like a few weeks in or a few months in, everybody starts playing the exact same thing because someone managed to create like the perfect formula, and then everybody just copies that guy. It's literally always the same thing. Anyway, second best deck is Kashtira, which is extremely shocking because every single other OCG metagame breakdown, Kashtira was never really doing too well. Like, as you can see here, the last one, which is, end of February, it wasn't even that long ago, Kashtira was actually really bad. Only 2.8%, which is 10% of tier elements. And then in this one, the number 7, it was also not that good, but not that bad, so 7%, which is fine. But now it's 8.3% in a huge compilation. So it really shows that people are now actually doing really well with Kashtira, which, like I said, was not the case before, even though nothing really changed in the format. Anyways, third best deck is Adamancipator. This is the big, a 60 card deck with like Vernalizer and freaking super heavy samurai. It's nasty, so yeah, exactly as I said. And then some other builds are playing with the fossil cards, which, it's not too bad. Like, there's a Foolish Burial that's actually pretty good. It's like you can, I don't know, it's not bad. Like, there's some cards that are good in the fossil package, but it's a little gimmicky in a way. I mean, it's just that you have to commit a lot to like the rock part of the deck, basically. So you're really playing like a pretty big Adamancipator deck when you're doing that, and you might be playing less super heavy samurais, and that's actually the reason why that build is not playing any super heavy samurai cards. Anyways, fourth best deck, Purrely, basically tied actually with Adamancipator, so never mind, it's basically the third best deck. And then after that, we've got Bestial, very good deck because of the Dispatter, which is the level 10 synchro. It's a broken card, and they still have Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, and of course they have Ringo Worm, the 100 Apple Dragon, as well as Assault Synchron. I think that's the name of the card. It's really insane. So they can do some nasty plays with synchro monsters, whereas in the TCG, of course, we can still do some cool plays when we're gonna be getting those cards. But right now, I don't know, like, we don't have Chaos Ruler, so it's a little less good. Like, there's some other plays that you can do, like the Black Wing Feather Dragon Dark Rage or something, that mills 5 cards when you take damage. But of course, it's nothing compared to Chaos Ruler because that one also excavates a card, so whatever. Anyways, Exorcister, of course, it's a decent deck. The new spirit monsters are actually really good in that deck. They do not conflict whatsoever because you're not special summoning any of the spirit monsters, you're just extra normal summoning. So it's pretty cool. If you have like any of the spirit monsters with like any of the Exorcisters, it's full combo, so like Magnifica and a trap card. Anyways, Runic, of course, the stun build always putting in that work. Sprite Trap Brigade, it's actually the most popular version of Trap Brigade, but not the most popular version of Sprite. Actually, I'm wrong. Yeah, because Sprite Bestial is also, somewhat popular, but when you think about it, it's actually a Bestial deck featuring Sprite cards, not the other way around. In the TCG, we never had that deck. We had Sprite featuring Bestials as hand traps, but now the Bestials are actually basically like a deck on their own, almost, kind of, but you still need like some form of engine in order to supplement them. And that's the reason why Super Heavy Samurai is kind of like ketchup or mayonnaise. It goes well with everything, honestly. I can't stress that enough, but the Super Heavy Samurai package is going to completely dominate the TCG. We do not have Max C, so yeah, there is nothing you can do about, Prodigy Wakoshi being like a 1-card full combo and everything being a 1-card full combo. It's nasty, man. This engine, just keep an eye on it. We got some Dragon Link, whatever, nobody really cares. Labyrinth, Branded, Flunderies, whatever. I mean, it's still, I guess it's not bad. Super Heavy Samurai, pure build, very interesting. Like I said, it's literally everywhere. So like Adamancipator is playing Super Heavy Samurai, and then Bestial, and then this. More decks are playing it, actually. Sky Striker, very interesting. Valiance, Evil Twin, okay. Someone actually in the TCG in YCS Las Vegas did really well with Evil Twin Sprite. I always believed in that deck. I think it's really good. Anyways, Magician, Rika, again, very interesting. It's a good deck. It never got nerfed. The one issue with Rika, though, is that they have an unwinnable matchup going second against Kashtira because they play way too many one-ofs, and when they go like Rise Art effect or Diablosis effect to banish cards from the top of your deck, and you banish your one-of, you just lose the game. So it's a lot of RNG, but if you play like a bunch of 2 or 3 ofs, then you won't lose to that, but it's just, I don't know, like you're gonna start breaking and stuff. Anyway, Spread Gishti, Adventure Punk Synchro, Bestial, Scareclaw, Manadome. Oh wow, that's very interesting. I remember when Pack and I made a video on that. Kotalku, Mathmech, Danger, Dark World, Generator, Orcus, Sprite, Tenny, Sword Soul, Trap Tricks. Very sad to see it at the bottom. And then all those decks are 1 out of 312. So I'm not even gonna bother. This is quite literally irrelevant. Alright, now let's jump into whatever people are playing. So Tearlaments, which is of course the #1 best deck, people are playing Trivikarma now in the deck, and the reason for that is because you can use its graveyard effect to banish it and then search a monster that, you know, states not Fallen of Albaz, but rather the other Fallen of Albaz-esque monster, which is Visa Starfrost. It's the new Fallen of Albaz, and there are a lot of spell cards that, you know, you can search. You can search the Purrely, and you can search the Tearlament Scream. Definitely some really good targets. I don't know if you can search the field spell of Kashtira. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't really matter too much because the Purrely searches all of your monsters except for Fenrir. So yeah, it really doesn't matter at all. And I also don't know if you can search your traps, but whatever. And if you draw it, which is not the best case scenario, you want to be milling it, it's not the end of the world because people are playing Barricade Board Blocker, so they can just link off any 2 monsters, discard the Trivikarma, and then use its effect to search something, and then on the end phase, they can recycle back either one of their field spells that they mailed, or their Tearlament Scream. So even if they mail their one-ofs, it's also not the end of the world. They don't necessarily have to go, you know, these Shizu monsters to shuffle them back, and then search them again. So that's actually a really neat play, featuring Barricade Board Blocker. And of course, the side deck has Kaiju monsters because of Purrely Noir, which is very annoying to deal with, and we're going to be learning something else that people are doing right now in that deck. So yeah, there's a good reason why this card is here, but it doesn't deal with Vanity's Fiend, which is another Floodgate monster that the Purrely deck is running right now. Fortunately, Forbidden Droplet does deal with that deck, so that's not, well, I mean with that card, at least not really with that deck, but whatever. No Dimensional Barrier, very interesting. So if they go first against Purrely, they are relying on their actual engine to win. And Jolan Logbird against Purrely is also pretty weak because they can do a lot of actions on the draw phase. All their cards are quick plays, so they can search on the draw phase, they can, whatever, draw cards on the draw phase. I don't know, like Jolan Logbird is a good card if you're using it against the right deck, and if you're, you know, if you're using it correctly as well. I mean, there's no timing, I guess, you just use it as early as possible, but whatever. Dugaris is also a very nice card that people are playing right now in the OCG. In the TCG, people were doing that forever, just like Fairy Tail Snow. People were always playing Fairy Tail Snow, so I'm just really shocked to see that people are now, only now, playing Fairy Tail Snow. To me, it makes no sense. Same thing with like Zeroboros, and, you know, Shadal Beast, whatever. A bunch of cards that we kind of always played, but I guess it makes sense if they have, like, Maxi around. But still, like, Fairy Tail Snow just being, like, such a flexible card. You can use it as a quick effect, chaining it to Maxi, or using it on your opponent's turn after you get Maxi'd. So, I don't know, like, to me, playing Fairy Tail Snow is a no-brainer. And yeah, this is the Shadal build, so it's actually running the Hail Shadal, which is the Infernoid monster, as well as whatever Shadal Squamata, so that you can decide whether you want to send the Beast or the Hail Shadal. So I really like this build, actually. And then the side deck, double Super Poly, but no Garura, so I actually think Super Poly is ass. If you don't have a Garura, there's pretty much no targets. It's really niche, but yeah, whatever. Alright, Kashtira, the second best deck. Makes sense, I guess, why it's pretty good. People are losing a lot to, you know, not having access to their graveyard right now. So, what are the decks? Tearlaments, obviously, no shit. And then the Adamancipator deck kind of loses very hard, actually. They rely a lot on the graveyard because of the Vernalizer monsters. They kind of just do nothing at all if all of your monsters get banished. And there's another deck, the Bestial deck. That loses very, very, very hard to a Rise Art. They pretty much will lose the game because there's never going to be anything in the graveyard. So all the Sprite monsters, all the Bestial monsters just end up doing less than nothing. And this guy is citing 3D Barrier going first against Purrely, so it also makes sense. And Kumungis going second against Purrely Noir. as well as Herald of the Abyss. And then some other cards, Drool and Logbird, again being played here. It's good though, because it's broken against Super Heavy Samurai. It's literally game. If they search something with the Soul Piercer and then you Droll, they can't use the bike to search again, so Droll, you can almost get away with main decking the card, but then you're gonna start losing to the other deck, so that's my issue with Droll. Like, obviously, it's broken against the right deck, as I said. It's just not really applicable for every matchup, and that's the reason why nobody has been main decking Droll in the OCG pretty much forever, honestly. Almost, like, yeah, 2 Drolls in the side, 3 Drolls in the side, 3 Drolls in the side. How about, like, back in the days? 3 Drolls in the side, 3 Drolls in the side, 2 Drolls in the side. Like, it's literally, it's a pattern at this point. Yeah, 3, 2, and then 2, yeah, it's... You can't main deck this card, but in the TCG, people are way more aggressive. They just, you know, they have a mentality of go big or go home, so people have a tendency to main deck Nibiru and Droll. They don't give a shit. That's the TCG players. The OCG players are very conservative, and they'd like to play it safe. Anyway, some other interesting cards would be Triple Tactic Tasking, so that when your opponent goes with the standby phase effect of Purrely Noir, you can get your, you know, your Herald of the Abyss, so that you can make your opponent send the card to the grave, because again, it affects the player and not the card, so even monsters that are unaffected by card effects will still end up losing to that card. And speaking of cards that are unaffected by card effects, this guy right here, Chu Kwang Sari, he figured out like a pretty interesting tech, so that is the Nail Shadow Genius, basically in the side deck that people are now citing. That is actually an out to Purrely Noir, because when it is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you have a really unique effect of you know, targeting a monster on the field, and then neither player can activate that monster's effects until the end of this turn, and you can still use that effect on monsters that are unaffected by card effects, and it will work because it doesn't affect the card, it affects the player, so the player itself cannot activate the effect of the monster. That really matters, and that is something that we can also see on other cards such as Evenly Matched, Daruma Dharma Cannon, and Weight Measuring. So very important to know when a card affects the card or when it affects the player. So when you see something like the player cannot do something like that, same thing with like Mystic Mine, then even if you have like a Towers-esque monster, don't go thinking that it's going to be able to do something. It can't do anything at all. Anyways, the deck for the Super Heavy Samurai Adamancipator deck is pretty much just streamlined at this point. Everybody's playing the exact same build. I always see the same, like, you know, equip spells as well. I mean, this deck is not playing the Smoke Grenade, but I think some other builds were. And also, it's like you know, it's a big deck with like Left Arm Offering too, and then that Grass Looks Greener. It actually plays a lot of spell cards for a deck that is almost like a Sekka's Light-esque deck, because your Super Heavy Samurai monsters pretty much don't do anything if you have a spell or trap card in your grave. So that's the reason why none of these decks can play Imperm, so they have to rely on Ash and Maxi to get the job done, and they also cannot really play Call by the Grave very effectively. So again, another reason why we are not seeing that card whatsoever, but it's also very interesting to see that in the side deck we can see Triple Tactic Talents as well as Tasking and even Red Reboot, because again, when these cards go to the graveyard, your deck starts doing less than nothing. So that is the drawback of playing the Super Heavy Samurai cards. Even if they're really, really powerful, they are not perfect. And again, another reason why we are not seeing Xyz Encore, but we are rather seeing Lava Golem and Sphere Mode, because you don't have to, you can't use Xyz Encore and then play the game. You have to do like, you have to play the game and then use Xyz Encore, but then the Purrely Noir will be able to like put back a card on like whatever the top of your deck or something. I forgot what it really did, but you're gonna start losing to your opponent's deck, so that's the reason why you really have to be careful with your side deck cards and your utility card choices. But yeah, a lot of monsters that we don't usually see in, you know, the other decks. Like, this is a pretty big Vernalizer engine, even playing like the Winnie the Pooh monster, 3 ducks obviously. I think this one draws you a card, this searches like a Vernalizer monster, I forgot, but whatever. And then some other cards that are typically played in the Adamancipator deck as one-ofs, but we didn't see them like forever because Block Dragon over here is banned, so the deck used to be like completely different. In the TCG, it was a 40 card deck, and it was a pretty much pure Adamancipator featuring obviously the O-Lion bullshit and Link Cross and all that BS that I really do not miss. Yeah, good riddance, honestly. But yeah, side deck, whatever. I mean, extra deck as well. Just pretty much every deck is the same now. Purrely, alright, so nothing really new, but the most, you know, standard, you know, engine to play now would be the 3 Bridge of Salvation, as well as Cobalt Eagle and Secret Village. which again makes a lot of sense because you can discard the Bridge of Salvation on the draw phase, and then, you know, use the effect of your Purrely monsters, and then use the effect of Bridge to search 2 cards, and then the Cobalt Eagle is going to be another discard fodder, and the Secret Village is going to prevent your opponent from using Xyz on Core. So if your opponent cannot use Xyz on Core in order to out your Purrely Noir, which is this card right there, then you only really have to fear Kaiju monsters and Lava Golem in Sphere mode. So, you know, you still have to be afraid of something, but depending on what deck your opponent is playing, you might actually predict your opponent's out to your card. And we are also seeing 1 copy of Herald of the Abyss because people are playing triple tactic tasking as well, so the fact that you can search it is always something that we can all appreciate. And then Appointer of the Red Lotus being a very good card because it is the one out to Kaiju monsters and, you know, Lava Golem, Sphere mode, etc. Obviously, it would still be good against your opponent's engine because if they're locked under not being able to use spell cards while they do not control a spellcaster and they have like 1 spellcaster in their hand and you can remove that spellcaster, then, you know, they will lose. And back in the days, people used to play Relinquished Anima as the spellcaster monster to turn on your Secret Village, but things have changed. People are now playing Slacker Magician, which is that card right here, on the right of the Lyrilusk rank 1 monster. So it is a spellcaster monster, pretty generic to level 1 monsters, if I recall correctly. And, you know, it cannot be destroyed by battle once per turn, and it can negate the deactivation of a card or effect that would try to target it. So that's actually really neat. If your opponent is trying to, like, destroy this card and then play on main phase 2, it's not gonna work. Yeah, this deck is really filthy, but also really, little brain. It looks really simple to play. I mean, all you really do is just summon your Purrely monsters, use their effects to summon a big boy with, like, a bunch of materials, and then you pass turn, you draw a bunch of cards on standby, you put back cards on the top of the deck or something, and then you just win the game because your opponent really cannot out this big boss monster. So it's really annoying. But yeah, in conclusion, a lot of people right now, of course, are citing in the Kaiju monsters. As we can see, everybody almost, or Kurikara as well. It's pretty much a Kaiju-esque monster. Same thing with Lava Golem in Sphere mode. It really depends. But yeah, Kumongous and then Irradian, because Xyz Core is just getting worse and worse and worse since people can search the Secret Village and summon a spellcaster, even despite the fact that this deck does not main deck a single spellcaster monster. That is just incredible, honestly. And another thing is that, well, I mean, Kurikara, everybody knows that it's a relatively reactive card because you have to use it after your opponent uses an effect of a monster, but Kashtira, Shangri-La, as well as Purrely Noir, will always use their effects, and Rise Art is a mandatory effect. So you can go, like, activate a spell card, literally any card, it goes to the banish, and then the Rise Art has to, you know, put it on the bottom of the deck, and then you can go get Kurikara to, like, tribute it, as well as the Shangri-La, and then you have a 4500 attack beat stick. You jump over the Fenrir, and then end phase, you revive back a monster. But yeah, a lot of these decks were also played in the TCG, so at the same time, nothing too out of the ordinary outside of Nail Shadow Genius. That's actually really crazy. That is one genius deck. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.